Time for some tea. I have my teacup. What the? I don't know if you can see this, but look. Now I knew that was there. It's to prove a point. I've had this teacup, you know the picture of Mike with his smiling teacup. I've had this teacup for years. In fact, I look at it, it's kind of a good luck teacup. But the other day, a few weeks ago, I dropped it. It kind of just fell out of my hands and it cracked. It was very disheartening. In fact, I was very upset by it. But it made me think about change and how important change is, and how there's so many changes that happen in people's lives, and how the different ways that you can approach change. You can either embrace change and know that it's an inevitable facet of everyday life, or you can fight change. But of course, being Live Life 365 and being Mike Foster, you know what I'm going to do. I'm going to embrace change and look to change as something that we need to do to further grow as people. I got over this, and I still haven't thrown it out though. I love this mug. It's one of my favorites, but I've replaced it since with this guy. And this is a bigger mug. I said, hey, if my mug breaks, I'm going to go for something bigger. I'm going to go for something completely different. This was a solid green. This has all this little print on, like newspaper, says the Times, you know, a little crossword puzzle. That's what turned me onto it. And I still drink my tea. But the main thing is change. Henry David Thoreau, one of my favorite writers, said, things do not change, we change. So how can we approach change, and what are the things we can do about change to make it a positive experience? Here's a few ideas. You know, one of the most challenging parts of change is putting yourself in situations that you haven't been into before. A lot of that is people like to call getting out of your comfort zone. In work and in business, a good manager, a good supervisor will help develop you by putting you in situations, by taking you out of comfortable situations and challenging you more. I think we need to do the same thing in life. Put yourself in an uncomfortable situation, not to the point where you're going to really stress about it, but challenge yourself. Because you're not going to be anything unless you change, unless you put yourself in a situation that you're going to test your mettle, or just test your mind or your body or your spirit. I like to always say the only constant around here is change. The only constant is change, hopefully for the better. Because the bottom line is, if you're not changing, if you're not developing, if you're not doing different things in your life, you're not living. William Shakespeare has a good quote, and I'm going to read it to make sure I don't screw it up, because, you know, Shakespeare, Shakespeare says, we know what we are, but know not what we may be. We know what we are, but know not what we may be. And that to me means most of us are comfortable with who we are today in terms of our routines, our comfort zones. But we don't know who we may be unless we push ourselves, unless we try to do something different. Live Life 365 and what I am all about, and what I like to do to help people, is all about changing your life for the better, and trying different things, and maybe sometimes getting yourself out of that comfort zone. The bottom line is, change is going to happen if you like it or not. It's inevitable, it's good, it's bad, but it's the part of the everyday ticking of the clock called life. So why not embrace it? Why not look for change as a challenge, as a personal challenge to do better, as a personal invitation to do something different in your life? You know, Live Life 365 began with a big weight loss with me. That was kind of when I started thinking about sharing my personal changes with as many people as possible. I'd like to say with the world, but we're still a little ways away from Live Life 365 connecting with the world. But actually, in theory, it has. I have site visitors from all across the world. Great Britain, Australia, the Philippines, Canada, Mexico, of course here in the United States. But I lost 40 pounds in 6 months several years ago, and I lowered my cholesterol. I reduced my blood pressure. I've also, in the past, I've overcome divorce, overcome bankruptcy. I've well, had alcohol problems. I was a cigarette smoker. I've changed my whole life many times over. And right now I'm in a good place. Right, for the last several years I've been in the best place. Got a great wife. I haven't had a drink in years. I don't smoke. I exercise all the time. I'm very, very healthy. My cholesterol is low. My weight is at the healthiest level it's been since high school, even before that. And those are the type of changes that I've embraced over the years. That their seeds came from negatives. All those changes came from negative events that if you didn't roll with them, if you didn't change in a positive way, I probably would be dead or in a gutter. My contemporaries, several of them have passed on because they continued to smoke, they continued to drink, they didn't exercise, they had heart attacks, they had all kind of ailments. And had I not changed 20 years ago and 15 years ago and even 5 years ago, who knows what would have happened to me. So change can present itself in a negative way, in a scary way, in a way that you look at and say, I don't see anything positive in there. But there is. There always is. It's up to you. It's up to us. It's up to me and you to look for the good in the bad, to look for the lemonade in the lemon, to look for the change, the positive change in everything that happens. Change for the better. Some things don't change. At my old house, I had a fountain. This is the same fountain. I brought it out here. I set it up. This keeps me in my comfort zone. But I took a chance. My wife and I took a chance to move to this beautiful house. And believe me, that change was a difficult change to even think about making. But we made it, and it was for the better. You know, but on a bigger scale, what about the world? What about the broader sense of things? What about the change that needs to be done? Well, I always say the same thing. It goes back to you and me and us. If we want to change the world, we have to change ourselves first. You know, in a few months, I have a big announcement to make about a new website, a new video, a new song, and a new book about changing the world if we really want to. But it's all about changing ourselves. Tolstoy said this about that. He said, everybody thinks of changing the world, but no one thinks of changing himself. Think about that when you think about change. Start with yourself and work on yourself every day in every way, just like I practice and just like I advocate on Live Life 365. And if we can change ourselves, and if we can embrace change, and if we can deal with change, the good and the bad, the challenging and the not and the easy, then eventually we can change the world for the better. Peace.